He saw the future, and every one of them ended in death. So Doctor Strange made a choice no one gave him permission to. He shattered the laws of magic, erased timelines, stole memories, all for one hero, just one. But the Avengers noticed, and they started dying. Time rewound. Universes collapsed. Reality screamed. And the one he tried to save was the one destined to destroy everything. The Sanctum Sanctorum had never been this silent. Dr. Stephen Strange stood alone, surrounded by relics that had forgotten their purpose, in a universe that had begun forgetting itself. He didn't blink, didn't breathe, didn't move. His fingers hovered just above the eye of Agamotto, not to open it, not yet, but close enough that the universe could feel it. There was something no one else knew. Not Wong, not Spider-Man, not even Wanda herself. She had already died, and Strange had already undone it. The spell he cast weeks ago hadn't just been time. It had ruptured the timeline, not cracked it, not scarred it, ruptured. And now, the rupture was whispering back. The sky outside flickered. 1 second it was Manhattan, the next it was a frozen wasteland. Then back again. Just a blink, a shimmer. But Doctor Strange felt it deep in the folds of his soul. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. But the alternative? He'd seen it. 14 million futures. In every single one, she died first. And the world followed. Not Tony, not Steve, not Thor, Wanda Maximoff. The Scarlet, which was the linchpin of every reality Strange had dared to observe. Every war began after her. Every collapse started with her last breath. When she fell, chaos woke up. And so, Strange made a choice. He shattered her death and replaced it with silence, pulled her soul back from oblivion, and tucked it into a mirrored fold of time, wrapped in protective magic, so dense even the Watcher would blink and forget her. She was alive now. Somewhere she smiled, believed she'd survived naturally, believed Vision was still gone, but that she had made peace with it. It was a lie, but a beautiful one. Strange didn't regret it, until the glitch, until Peter Parker stumbled into the sanctum, eyes wide, hands shaking. Doc, I don't know how to explain this, but I remember dying in a fight that never happened. Strange's blood turned cold. Peter wasn't supposed to feel echoes. The spell was crafted to wipe trauma, to soften the edges, to clean the timeline. But the boy remembered. And he wasn't the only one. Down in Wakanda, Shuri sent encrypted data fragments, quantum shadows of events that couldn't be traced. In Kamartaj, a student muttered in their sleep about watching 2 Wandas argue in the sky. Reality was pushing back. The cost of saving 1 Avenger had never been just a single spell. Strange knew this. He always knew. But now the interest was compounding, and the universe was sending the bill. Wong stormed into the chamber without knocking. His voice cracked like thunder. "What did you do?" Strange didn't answer. "Stephen, I asked you a question." "I did what no one else could," Strange replied, calm but tight. "I saved the Keystone." "You mean you altered every living strand of fate just to keep her alive?" "I had no choice." "There's always a choice," Wong snapped. "You just didn't like the one the universe gave you." Strange turned to face him. "If Wanda falls, the multiverse burns. I saw it. I lived it. I died in it." Wong paced, furious. "So you rewrote the story? Changed who remembers what? Erased grief from the timeline?" Strange silence said everything. Wong leaned closer, his voice quieter now. "You didn't do this for the universe, Stephen. You did this because you love her." That pierced deeper than any blade. But there was no time for confessions. Outside, the sky fractured again, but this time people saw it. A tear of white lightning cut through clouds over the Statue of Liberty. It stayed for 2 full seconds, long enough for every phone to capture it. And in the center of that tear, Wanda, both of them, the real one and the false one. Strange's face drained of color. The cocoon spell had ruptured. The Wanda who had died, the one meant to stay gone, was clawing her way back into existence. And she was furious. Peter's scream cracked through the door. He burst into the room again, but he wasn't alone this time. He was holding someone. Someone Strange never thought he'd see again. Vision. Not a ghost. Not a memory. A fully conscious, blinking, confused vision who whispered, "She brought me back." She said she needed an anchor to stay here. Strange's heart stopped. Wanda hadn't just escaped the spell. She'd rewritten her own return. The rules of magic were falling apart, and the Sorcerer Supreme was no longer in control. In the center of the sanctum, relics began to levitate. Not by spell, by rejection. Reality was rejecting the lie. The time stone pulsed, turning amber hot. Strange stepped back from it. "It's happening. The walls are breaking. She's breaking them." Wong's voice dropped into dread. "You didn't just break reality, Stephen, you gave it amnesia." A tremor hit. Hard. Books fell. The ground cracked. And then silence. Until a voice echoed in the chamber. Not Wanda. Wanda's. Two of them. Speaking in unison. "You tried to bury me, but I am the truth beneath the lie." The mirror cracked behind Strange. Not glass. Reality. And inside it, a scarlet shadow stepped forward, barefoot, bloodied and smiling. The one who died. The one who was meant to stay dead. And she remembered everything. The false Wanda stood silent in the broken mirror, her reflection not mimicking her anymore. It stared at Strange like a god forgotten. Scarlet eyes, burned feet, a voice that knew too much. She didn't just remember what Strange did. She remembered how he did it. And she wasn't alone anymore. Behind her, universes unraveled like threads from a cosmic tapestry. Realities that were once sealed by strange magic now leaked through the cracks. Variants of Avengers blinked in and out of existence. In one moment, Iron Man was old and dying. The next, he was never born. The multiverse was becoming a roulette wheel, and Strange had already lost control of the spin. Wong raised his staff, but the energy around Wanda was too unstable to pierce. She stepped forward. No footsteps, just motion, as if space was afraid to hold her weight. Peter held Vision back, panic in his voice. "She's not the Wanda I know." Vision tilted his head. "No, she's the Wanda who died so the rest could live, and now she wants to know why." With a twist of her wrist, the sanctum buckled inward. Reality didn't collapse. It inverted. Suddenly, they were outside, floating in a warped version of New York. Buildings bent into spirals, clouds bled color, and cars moved in reverse, upside down. The air shimmered like it couldn't make up its mind whether it was oxygen or static. Strange gritted his teeth. "This isn't her doing. It's the reality shell unraveling. My spells collapsing from the inside." Wanda smirked. "No, Stephen. It's your guilt collapsing." Her hand flicked, and Hawkeye fell from the sky. Not a clone, not a vision. The real Clint Barton, mid-fight, plummeting through the twisting clouds, screaming as if ripped from another timeline. He crashed into the warped street below, unconscious, his communicators sparking beside him. Wong rushed to him. "This doesn't make sense. He was in Wakanda 20 seconds ago." "Not anymore," Strange said, jaw locked. His timeline folded in. Peter checked his own arms. They flickered. Two suits. Two versions of his Spider-Man armor phasing over each other. Doc, I think I'm glitching." Strange didn't answer. His focus was on Wanda, who had now stopped moving, her head tilted to the left, like she was listening to something no one else could hear. And then, as she whispered, "Another one's gone." In the span of a breath, the clouds above turned red. A crackling bolt of light slammed into a nearby building. When the smoke cleared, Thor's hammer lay on the rooftop. Alone. No Thor in sight. Gone. Just gone. Peter's eyes widened. Are we dying?" "No," Wong said. "We're being erased. Not killed. Replaced. Swapped. Deleted. Like backup files being restored over corrupted data." Every action Strange took to preserve Wanda was now causing time to reboot, but it wasn't rebooting correctly. Instead of returning to normal, it was picking Avengers from different timelines and splicing them together. Bruce Banner was next. The sky above Pulse Green. For a moment, the Hulk exploded into view, roaring in rage. but his body flickered between Banner, Grey Hulk, Red Hulk, and Smart Hulk, then finally vanished in a shockwave of gamma static. Only his scream remained echoing. Vision stepped forward. "Steven, you need to shut it down. All of it." Strange was breathing heavy. "I can't. It's bonded. The magic is holding together more than just this world now. You rewrote the laws of reality just to save one woman." Vision snapped. Strange glared. "I rewrote them to save everyone from losing her." Wanda spoke again. This time, both Wandas at once. "The real, the false, merging. You didn't save me. You caged me in a beautiful lie." The two Wandas phased into one, scarlet energy rippling out like a shockwave. And the moment they touched, the earth cracked. Not physically, chronologically. Avengers Tower split in two. One side new, one side ruined. Stark logos shifted between ancient runes and alien symbols. People screamed as they flickered out of time, standing in one century, then another. The collapse had begun. Reality itself was now fighting back. Inside the sanctum, relics were rejecting their own enchantments. The cloak of levitation dropped to the ground, limp. The book of Ashanti snapped shut, burned, and vanished. Peter held his head. "My memories? I'm seeing fights I never had, places I've never been." "You're absorbing echoes," Wong said. "Timeline bleed. Soon, you won't know which version of you is real." Doctor Strange dropped to one knee. He could feel the pull, the curse of the choice he made. He had overwritten destiny, and now destiny was overwriting back. From the horizon, something dark approached. A wave of black static, like the multiverse itself was crashing. Inside it were remnants, versions of heroes who never existed. Tony Stark in a medieval suit. Steve Rogers with no shield, only fire. Natasha Romanoff with glowing white eyes. They marched with blank faces, trapped in a loop of repeating death. "Ghosts of undone timelines," Strange muttered. "I've broken everything." Wong looked at him. "Then fix it." "How?" Peter raised a shaking hand. "Guys, I think we're next." His suit cracked, his skin pixelated. He let out a scream, but it wasn't just him screaming. 3 different versions of Peter Parker, young, old, armored, appeared beside him, flickering in pain. The timelines were collapsing into each other, and it all stemmed from her. Wanda's energy burned red-hot, turning black at the edges. Vision moved toward her. "Wanda, please, let it go." But she stared at Strange. "If I die again, the world dies with me." And Strange, for the first time, didn't know if she was lying. The world was no longer one world. Time twisted around the earth like serpents fighting for control. Past, present, and futures collapsing inward. Cities were layered in ghost architecture. Ancient Rome towering behind skyscrapers. Neon Wakandan tech flickering over 1940s buildings. People walked through each other, unaware they weren't even from the same timeline. In the sky, a massive rip glowed like a scar. And at the center of that scar was Wanda. But not just one version. 2 Wandas stood side by side, identical but different, real and rewritten, merging into one force that the multiverse couldn't comprehend. Each pulse from her body sent shockwaves through time itself. The moon glitched, turning blood red, then blue, then disappearing completely. Wong slammed the last of the protective seals around the sanctum as Peter collapsed at his feet, flickering between ages, voices, and scars from battles he'd never fought. Dr. Strange stared out the window, barely breathing. The world wasn't ending. It was being replaced, and it was his fault. Wong turned to him, voice cold. "You need to tell them." Strange didn't respond. I said. Wong stepped closer, grabbing Strange by the cloak. "Tell them what you did, before the whole universe forgets what it was." Peter looked up, his voice ragged. What did he do?" Strange's lips parted, and then he spoke, not with pride, not with power, but with regret. "I killed Wanda." The room froze, though the world outside twisted like a fever dream. "I watched her die, not by my hand, but I let it happen. In that timeline, she was the first to fall. And after that, every Avenger, every planet, every hope died. I couldn't let that happen again. So I stole her death and buried it. I ripped her out of time and rewrote the memory of her end. Peter's face twisted in horror. You rewrote her? Her death? Her fate? I rewrote us, Strange whispered. Everyone, every hero, every future. And now it's all coming back. Wong's voice shook with restrained fury. You didn't save her. You fractured causality. You hijacked destiny. Strange turned sharply. Destiny was broken. I saw it happen. Wanda's death is the hinge of apocalypse. Every timeline I visited, she dies, and chaos floods the multiverse. There was no version where she survives and we win. Then you should have accepted it, Wong barked. That's what it means to be Sorcerer Supreme. You protect time, not steal it. But Strange didn't answer, because above them, the sound of thunder cracked through dimensions, and then stopped. Everyone looked up. It was too quiet. And then a figure dropped from the sky. Not Thor. An empty suit. Mjolnir crashed beside it, lifeless. The body was hollow, armor from a timeline where Thor had been erased mid-battle. Peter whispered, "They're vanishing." Not dying, just being undone. Wong looked to the sky. The echo effect is accelerating. The more timelines collapse, the faster the real one breaks. Wanda hovered above it all, suspended between timelines. Her energy now fused into something more ancient than chaos magic, something primal. And suddenly, her voice echoed across every plane of existence. Stephen Strange rewrote the sacred thread. He replaced fate with guilt. I was never meant to return, but now that I have, you don't get to undo me again. And then she began to pull. The very concept of reality bent toward her like metal to a magnet. Cities folded, memories reloaded. People froze mid-breath and turned into glowing outlines, repeating loops of their last words. Strange pushed past Wong and stepped into the center of the sanctum. I can stop this. Wong raised an eyebrow. Can you? Or will you just delay the next collapse? I still have the mirror dimension. I'll trap her. Trap all versions of her in a fold where time doesn't touch. You'll trap yourself with her. Strange nodded. Maybe that's what it takes. Peter stepped forward. That's suicide. No, Strange said. It's justice. But before he could finish the incantation, a bolt of red light shattered the roof of the sanctum. Wanda dropped inside. Both of her merged, glowing, no longer human. Her eyes locked onto Strange. You think you can cage me again? Strange stood his ground. No, I think I can finally face what I ran from. Wanda extended her hand, but vision appeared between them. She froze. His voice was soft. Real. You're not meant to be here, Wanda. Her energy cracked. I remember you dying. I remember you dying, Vision replied. But it wasn't his fault. Wanda trembled. He chose me over everything. No, Vision said gently. He chose fear. Strange lowered his hands. For the first time, he saw it. He hadn't done this because he loved Wanda. He did it because he couldn't bear another loss. He didn't save her to stop the end of the world. He saved her to stop the end of him. Wanda stepped back, power flaring uncontrollably. But I'm real now. I exist. I've touched too many timelines. I can't just go back. Strange whispered. You were the echo of a broken choice. And now the only way to fix it is to undo what should never have been touched. He lifted the eye of Agamotto. The stone was gone, destroyed long ago. But his magic still knew how to rewind. Even without the stone. Wanda's eyes widened. No. Strange extended both hands. One glowing with white light, the other with black. Goodbye, Wanda. She screamed, not in pain, but in despair. And as the spell consumed her, Vision held her hand. And she vanished, like a memory put back where it belonged. Outside, the world slowed, unfolded, straightened. Time realigned. Buildings stood where they belonged. The sky returned to blue. And for the first time in weeks, silence returned. Peter fell to the floor, exhausted. Wong dropped his staff. But Strange didn't move. His hands still glowing, his eyes distant. Wanda was gone. The timelines had realigned. But something else had gone with her. Him. A piece of him. the part that believed in second chances. And now, he wasn't sure he deserved one. The silence didn't last. Reality had calmed. The skies were clear. Buildings had returned to their rightful era. But underneath it all, something was humming. Low, violent, alive. Doctor Strange stood alone in the sanctum, hands still faintly glowing from the last spell. The world believed it was over. Peter was safe. Wong was stabilizing time, seams across dimensions. The Avengers, what was left of them, were slowly sinking back into their proper timelines. But Strange knew he hadn't erased her. He couldn't. He'd only sealed her deeper. The Wanda he created, the one he rewrote into existence, had been absorbed by the real Wanda, not deleted, merged. And that new being, that hybrid, was still awake. Deep inside the folds of forgotten time, she stirred. Her scream was silent, but it traveled across planets, through black holes, inside dreams. Stephen felt it like a ripple across his spine. Then came the signal, a pulse, a distortion spike at the edge of the multiverse. The barrier Wong placed over the fracture in the loom of fate blinked, once, then again, and then cracked open like glass under pressure. Not broken from the outside, broken from within. She was coming back, not as Wanda, not as the Scarlet Witch, but as something new, something Strange hadn't named because he feared giving it shape. In Kamartaj, the students dropped to their knees, bleeding from the nose and ears, mumbling her name even though it was never spoken aloud. In space, a Kree warship vanished mid-transmission, its final signal screaming one word: red. On Earth, mirrors everywhere began vibrating, fracturing. Every reflection turned to her. And in the sanctum, Strange faced the truth. He had killed a version of her. But what survived wasn't just stronger. It was smarter. She didn't come through portals this time. She came through people. Wong blinked and saw her in the eyes of a young monk. Peter watched Ned cry blood in his sleep, whispering spells he'd never learned. Even Vision, restored and stable, stared into nothing and whispered, "She's rewriting from inside." She was evolving inside time, not fighting it, becoming it. And she remembered every death Strange had erased, every version, every betrayal, every choice he made without her consent. And now, she would make one without his. Reality didn't fracture this time. It bent. Subtly, silently. Street signs began spelling words backward. Birds flew in reverse. Children remembered parents they never had. The world smiled as if everything was fine. But Wanda's voice echoed from every reflection. "You stole me to save the world, Stephen. Now I'll steal the world to save myself." Strange stood before the mirror dimension gateway, knowing she no longer needed portals or spells. She was rewriting from within. He raised his hands again, this time trembling, because now it wouldn't be about sealing her. It would be about asking for forgiveness. And he wasn't sure if the multiverse would survive her answer. The sanctum cracked, not from impact, but from indecision. Doctor Strange stood in the center, surrounded by echoes of choices he could never take back. Every wall whispered her name. Every surface bent, just slightly, like it feared her arrival more than its own destruction. She was already here, not in body, but in everything. Wanda Maximoff wasn't walking back into this world. She was becoming it. The multiverse wasn't unraveling anymore. It was adapting to her, accepting her as its author. Time didn't resist her. It waited. Then a voice, calm, brutal, familiar. "You rewrote my death, Stephen." He turned. She wasn't glowing, wasn't hovering, just standing there. Red hoodie, bare feet, wind in her hair like it was listening. Her eyes didn't burn with chaos. They mourned. "You thought saving me would save the world," she said. Strange didn't speak. "You didn't ask me." He lowered his hands. "I thought I was protecting." "No," she cut in. "You were protecting you. From the pain, from the guilt, from watching another person die and not being able to stop it." He exhaled. The truth landed heavy. She walked past him, brushing the edge of the mirror gate. It warped around her touch like time was breathing. I remember dying, she said softly. It hurt, but it was mine. Strange swallowed hard. I was trying to preserve the only future that didn't collapse. Then why did this one collapse harder than all the others? She asked. He had no answer. She stopped. You should have let me go. He stepped forward. I can now. I will. She looked up at him. You can't. A ripple echoed out from her feet. Time skipped. 1 second forward, 1 second back. Then she smiled, soft, tragic. But I can. She turned to the mirror. No seals, no traps, no lies this time. Her fingers touched her own reflection. The glass shimmered, not cracking, not resisting, just welcoming her home. She looked over her shoulder one last time. Tell them I chose this. And then she stepped inside. No scream, no collapse, just silence. Real silence. The kind that can only come from something finally ending the way it should have the first time. The sanctum held. The world stilled. The sky corrected itself. Peter remembered only one Wanda now, the one who chose her ending. Vision stood taller, clearer, whole. And Doctor Strange, he collapsed to his knees, not in defeat, but in surrender. To time, to grief, to the price of playing God. Wong entered slowly. She's gone. Strange nodded, this time by her own choice. Wong looked around. The relics were calm. The spells intact. The echoes were gone. All that remained was truth. What now? Wong asked. Strange didn't answer immediately. Then finally, quietly, now we don't forget. He stood, not as a sorcerer, but as a man who learned the hardest truth magic could never rewrite. Some heroes don't need saving. Some just need to be heard.